It's undeniable how
Oh.
big this race has become. What do you make of it, and will you find it a challenge to try to stand out among what could be 10, maybe a dozen candidates?
When I filed, I think I probably was the first person to file for this campaign. And it's very similar to having a party. I thought no one was gonna come. I'm not a politician. I haven't been groomed into this position, but I've played in the same sandbox with a lot of these political people. So I do know what it takes to really take action and to really make impactful decisions.
What do we do about homelessness and housing?
Number one, being as someone who've experienced homelessness, I think we have to really understand the spectrum of those who are experiencing homelessness. My mother, we came in as, we came from another country. I think having access to different programs was very limited. She was a bit timid in actually asking for help or understanding what she needed. So it's almost the example of you're in a boat, there's a hole in it and water is filling up. Instead of you actually clogging it, you're just pouring water out. And I feel like we're currently doing a knee-jerk reaction of trying to just develop housing instead of actually addressing the issue, which is addressing substance use disorder, addressing wraparound service in regards to employment, addressing life skills, and also other things that would really help individuals to be successful.
I certainly don't expect you to speak on behalf of CDCR.
Yes.
But in this public safety discussion, there's also been some voiced concern about some of the early release credits, the program. I know there's discussion on those who have been released on this early, not everyone, of course, you can't paint everyone with a broad brush, but some folks who have been released have gone on to commit much worse crimes. And I wonder if, as an assemblyman, is that, and with your experience with CDCR, is that something that you would like to see more oversight of?
Definitely. I think, like as I say, I can't speak for CDCR, but one thing that I think is would really improve this is additional funding, just so that we can touch more people who are currently being released. And as far as, some of these community-based organizations, so I'm really in the ground. I know the data. And in those community-based organizations that are providing these services so that those who are recently released don't recidivate, there's a cap as far as, the capacity of how many people they can actually address the service to. We have a long wait list. In regards to some of those people who may have received these services and also go back, commit a crime, I think it's important for us to take it on a case-by-case. We can't necessarily always try to say this person committed this crime. It shows that the program is flawed. No. We have to really look at the data, and the data proves that those who actually receive these services are less likely to recidivate. And that's the fact.
And to learn more about Emmanuel Amanfor, you can head to our website, kcra.com.